Ethan was a soldier on a lonely planet far from home. He wore a heavy suit and walked slowly through the ruins of old buildings. The ground was dry, with red dust everywhere. It was quiet, except for the sound of his boots crunching on broken stone. He looked up at the sky. It was always cloudy and gray here. He missed the blue sky of Earth. Ethan was on patrol. He carried his rifle close and watched for any movement. The war between humans and the little aliens had been long and hard. Both sides were tired. There were not many battles now, but there was always danger. People said the Lero were clever and could not be trusted. He passed an old wall with strange marks. Sometimes he wondered what the marks meant. Maybe the Lero had made them long ago. Now, most of them stayed far away from the human camp. The area was full of wild animals and strange noises at night. As Ethan walked, he heard a sound. It was small, almost like a cry. He stopped and listened. He waited. He heard it again. It was coming from inside a broken building. Ethan walked slowly, careful not to make noise. He pointed his rifle at the doorway. The sound came again. It was soft and sad. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The room was dark, with broken glass on the floor. Something moved in the corner. Ethan turned on his light. In the corner, he saw someone small. It was a girl, not human. Her skin was pale blue. She had big dark eyes and thin arms. She looked hurt and scared. The girl pressed herself against the wall. She was shaking. Ethan saw that her foot was bleeding. She looked at him and made a quiet sound, almost like a whisper. He saw fear in her eyes. For a moment, Ethan remembered the stories about the Lero. People said they were dangerous. But this girl did not look dangerous. She looked lost and alone. He lowered his gun a little. He put out his hand and spoke softly. "I will not hurt you," he said. The girl did not understand the words, but she watched his face. He took a bottle of water from his bag and put it on the floor. He rolled it slowly toward her. The girl stared at the bottle, then at Ethan. After a moment, she reached out and took the water. She opened it and drank. Her hand shook. Ethan saw. She was cold. He took off his jacket and put it near her. She pulled it around her shoulders. She did not speak, but she looked at him. Her eyes were big and full of sadness. Ethan knelt down and showed her a bandage. He pointed to her foot. She nodded slowly. He cleaned her cut and put the bandage on. The girl flinched but did not move. Ethan wanted to ask her name, but he did not know the Lero language. He tried speaking, but she just watched him, confused. He took out a small notepad and drew a picture of himself. Then he drew a picture of her. The girl watched. She took the pencil and drew a picture of a star. She pointed at the sky. Ethan nodded. He understood. She wanted to go home. Ethan sighed. He knew he could not just leave her. If anyone found her, she would be in danger. If the other soldiers saw him helping her, he could get in trouble. But he could not walk away. She was just a child. He looked at her and said quietly, "I will help you." She did not understand the words, but she saw the kindness in his eyes. Ethan gave her some food from his pack. She ate slowly, still watching him. When she was done, she looked less afraid. He smiled at her, and after a long moment, she smiled back a small, shy smile. The sun was going down. Ethan knew he had to get back to camp soon. He looked at the girl. He did not want to leave her alone. He pointed to a place under the broken wall where she could hide. He made a sign to stay quiet and wait. She nodded. He gave her his flashlight and showed her how to turn it on and off. Before he left, Ethan looked at her one more time. He promised himself he would come back. He walked out into the cold night, feeling worried but also sure he had done the right thing. As he walked back, he hoped no one saw the kindness he had shown to an alien child in the middle of a long, lonely war. Ethan woke up early the next day. He could not stop thinking about the alien girl hiding in the ruins. He tried to eat his breakfast in the camp, but he was not hungry. He listened to the other soldiers talking, but he did not join their jokes. He worried someone might notice he was acting different. The commander gave everyone new orders. There would be more patrols because some people thought there were Lero scouts nearby. Ethan pretended to listen. In his mind, he was already planning how to help the girl again. When it was time to go on patrol, Ethan walked the same way as before. His heart beat fast as he got close to the broken building. He stopped and checked to see if anyone followed him. Then he slipped inside quickly. The girl was still there, hiding behind a wall. She looked up and smiled a little when she saw him. Ethan felt happy to see her safe. He gave her more water and a piece of bread. She took the food and ate slowly, watching him all the time. Ethan wanted to talk to her. He pointed to himself and said, "Ethan." He then pointed to her and waited. The girl did not speak at first. She looked shy. After a moment, she said, "Nera." Her voice was soft, and the name sounded different from human names. Ethan smiled and repeated, "Nera." She smiled too. They understood each other a little more now. He drew a picture in his notebook, showing a camp, a house, and 2 people. Then he drew a big X over the camp and pointed to her, then to the picture of the house. He wanted to know where her home was. Nera took the pencil and drew a big star, then pointed at herself. She drew smaller stars around the big one. Ethan guessed she was from a place far away, maybe another planet. He nodded to show he understood, but he felt sad because he could not help her get home. All he could do was keep her safe for now. Ethan looked at her foot. It was still hurt, but better than before. He changed the bandage and cleaned the wound. Nera did not cry. She was very brave. She took a leaf from her pocket and put it on the bandage, showing Ethan that it was for healing. He smiled and thanked her. He wanted to teach her more words. He pointed to things and said their names. "Water," he said, and then he handed her the bottle. "Food," he said, giving her a piece of bread. Nera listened and tried to repeat the words. Sometimes she laughed at the way Ethan spoke her words. He laughed too. They both tried hard to understand each other. Later, Nera took a stick and drew pictures in the dust. She drew 3 Lero, 2 big and 1 small. She pointed to herself as the small one and made a sad face. Then she drew a big fire and many people running. Ethan understood that her family was gone because of the war. He felt sorry for her. He put his hand on her shoulder to show her he cared. Ethan knew he could not stay long. He told Nera with hand signs that he would return. He showed her how to cover her hiding place with broken boards so no one would see her. She watched him carefully and nodded. When Ethan went back to camp, he was careful not to act strange. He cleaned his boots so no one would see red dust from the ruins. The other soldiers talked about missing food and water. Ethan kept quiet. He did not want anyone to know he was taking things for Nera. That night, Ethan lay in his bunk and thought about Nera. He wondered if she was scared or hungry. He worried about wild animals or enemy soldiers finding her. He decided to bring her something special the next day, a small flashlight and some warm socks. He wanted to make her feel safe and cared for. The next morning, Ethan left the camp early. He moved quickly and checked to see if anyone was following. When he reached the ruins, he called softly for Nera. She peeked out and smiled when she saw the socks and flashlight. Ethan showed her how to use the light. Nera clicked it on and off, laughing quietly. She put on the socks and hugged her knees, looking warmer and happier. They spent more time together that day. Ethan showed her how to say friend. Nera repeated the word and smiled. She tried to teach him a word in her language. Ethan could not say it well, but Nera laughed. They both laughed together, and the ruins did not feel so lonely. Ethan knew he could not keep this secret forever. But when he looked at Nera, he felt sure he was doing the right thing. She was only a child who needed help, and he promised himself he would not let her down. Ethan tried to act normal in camp, but he could not stop thinking about Nera. Every day he found a way to slip away and check on her. He brought her small things: food, clean water, bandages, and sometimes warm clothes. Nara always smiled when she saw him. Even though she could not speak much English, she learned quickly. She liked to listen to the new words Ethan taught her. She would point at things, and Ethan would say their names. Then she would repeat them, sometimes laughing if she said them wrong. Ethan liked to hear her laugh. It made the ruin seem less lonely. One day, Ethan brought her a small radio. It did not work very well, but sometimes they could hear music or voices from far away. Nara listened with wide eyes. She did not understand the words, but she liked the sounds. She would hum along or tap her fingers on the ground. Ethan laughed and told her the music was from Earth. Nara drew a small circle in the dirt and pointed up at the sky, asking about Ethan's home. He tried to explain with words and pictures. Nara listened carefully and asked her own questions using simple words and drawings. As the days passed, Nara became less afraid. She started to explore the ruins near her hiding place. She showed Ethan some plants that grew in the cracks of the walls. She pointed to one with blue leaves and touched it gently, then pressed the leaf to Ethan's arm. It felt cool and soft. She tried to tell him it was good for pain. Ethan took some of the leaves, hoping they might help someone one day, but the camp grew more tense. One afternoon, the commander called everyone together. "We think there are little spies nearby," he said. "Keep your eyes open. Report anything strange." Ethan felt his heart race. He worried someone would find Nara. Some soldiers began to notice Ethan's long walks. One, a tall man named Greg, asked, "Why do you go out alone so much?" Ethan just said he liked to walk and look at the sky. Later that day, Ethan warned Nara to stay hidden. He showed her how to listen for danger and where to hide if someone came. Nara watched him with serious eyes and nodded. She understood it was not safe. That evening, Ethan heard voices while visiting Nara. He froze and listened. There were footsteps in the ruins, more than one person. Ethan pulled Nara close and whispered, "Hide." He crouched beside her in a dark corner. Two Lyral scouts moved past, speaking their own language. Nara held her breath and did not make a sound. When the scouts left, Nara let out a shaky sigh. Ethan hugged her gently. "Safe now," he whispered. After the danger was gone, Nara gave Ethan a small necklace she had made from bits of wire and a shiny blue stone. She put it in his hand and closed his fingers around it. Ethan looked at the necklace, then at Nara. He understood it was important. He put it on and smiled. "Thank you," he said. Nara smiled back. They sat quietly together, listening to the wind. Later that week, Ethan taught Nara more words. He wrote them in his notebook and showed her how to say them. Nara drew pictures of her family and her home. She drew tall trees, bright stars, and a big river. Ethan saw that she missed her family very much. He felt a deep sadness for her, but tried to make her feel safe and cared for. One night, Ethan had to return to camp quickly because there was an emergency. When he left, he told Nara to stay hidden. Back at the camp, some soldiers were sick. People worried that there was a new disease. The commander told everyone to be careful and stay away from the ruins. Ethan was afraid the soldiers would find Nara while searching for the cause of the sickness. For the next few days, Ethan could not visit Nara as often. He worried about her. When he finally went to see her, he found her sitting quietly waiting. She looked tired and thin. Ethan brought her extra food and water. He promised he would not leave her alone for so long again. Nara gave him a hug. For a moment, Ethan forgot about the war and the danger. He was just glad to have a friend in this strange place. Ethan sat alone in the camp, looking at the small blue necklace Nara had given him. He turned it in his fingers and thought about her, hiding in the cold ruins. He wanted to check on her, but the commander had made a new rule. No one could leave camp alone. There was fear that the sickness in camp might be coming from outside, maybe even from the ruins where Ethan visited Nara. Ethan felt trapped. He watched the other soldiers. Some coughed or sat with their heads down. People whispered about the sickness. Some said it was the Lyril's fault. Ethan did not believe this. He knew Nera was just a child who needed help. He waited until night when most of the soldiers were asleep. He sneaked out of his tent and moved quietly past the guards. He took a bag with food, water, and medicine. He was careful, moving like a shadow through the dark. It was cold outside, and the wind made strange sounds. When he reached the ruins, he called softly for Nera. At first, there was no answer. He called again. Then he saw her small face in the darkness. She looked weak and tired. Her eyes were dull. Ethan hurried to her and checked her forehead. She was hot with fever. Ethan sat beside her and tried to comfort her. He gave her water and the medicine he brought from camp. Nera swallowed the pills and closed her eyes. Ethan covered her with a blanket. He stayed with her all night, listening to her breathing. He worried she might not wake up in the morning as the sun rose. Nera opened her eyes. She was still weak, but she smiled at Ethan. He smiled back, feeling relief. He showed her how to crush some green leaves and mix them with water. Nera sniffed the mix and nodded. She took a small drink and pointed to her own bag. Inside, she had some roots and dried herbs. She showed Ethan how to use them to help heal cuts and fevers. Ethan watched carefully and thanked her. Over the next days, Ethan came to visit her as much as he could. Sometimes he brought small things from camp crackers, fruit, clean bandages. He and Nera talked more using simple words and hand signs. Nera's English was getting better. She said, "Thank you," and "friend," and sometimes even made jokes. Ethan liked her sense of humor. One day, Nera drew a picture of a bird and showed it to Ethan. She pointed up to the sky where a real bird flew over the ruins. Ethan understood she wanted to feel free, like the bird. He told her, "Someday you will go home." Nera smiled but looked sad. She did not know if she would ever see her family again. That afternoon, Ethan heard angry voices in camp. He hurried back and saw a group of soldiers standing around the commander. Someone had found tracks near the ruins. They believed the Lyral was hiding close to camp. The commander shouted, "Find whoever is out there. They might be bringing the sickness." Ethan felt his heart sink. He rushed to warn Nera. He told her to hide deep in the ruins and stay silent. Nera looked scared but did what he asked. Ethan tried to cover her tracks with stones and dust. He did not want anyone to find her. A search team went out that evening. Ethan had to go with them to avoid suspicion. They searched the ruins, looking behind every wall and under every broken roof. Ethan was scared someone would see the food wrappers or the old blanket. But he led the team away from Nera's hiding place, making excuses to check other areas. The search took hours. When it was over, they found nothing. The commander was angry, but ordered everyone back to camp. Ethan stayed behind for a few minutes. He found Nera in her hiding spot. She was shaking but safe. Ethan promised her, "I will protect you." She nodded, trusting him. He gave her some extra food and told her he would come back as soon as he could. That night, Ethan could not sleep. He worried about Nera. He worried about the soldiers, about the sickness, and about what would happen if the truth came out. But when he thought of Nera's smile, he felt strong. He knew he could not let her down, no matter what. Ethan woke before sunrise. He could not sleep because he was worried about Nera. He packed a small bag with food, water, and a blanket. He checked to see if anyone was watching, then slipped out of camp and hurried toward the ruins. When he reached Nera's hiding place, he called her name softly. She was there, curled up in a corner. She looked pale but smiled when she saw him. Ethan gave her the food and water. She thanked him with a quiet voice. He could see she was weak, but her eyes were hopeful. Ethan sat beside her and talked about the camp. He told her about the other soldiers, the sickness, and the searches. Nera listened and looked worried. She understood the danger. Ethan explained that soldiers would come again, searching the ruins. Nara nodded, and her small hands gripped the blanket tightly. They spent the morning together. Ethan helped Nara practice more English words. She pointed to the sky and said, blue. She pointed to her heart and said, sad. Ethan smiled gently and said, brave. He told her she was brave to survive alone. Nara looked at him and smiled shyly. Suddenly they heard voices outside. Ethan froze. He peeked through a crack in the wall and saw soldiers moving closer. He told Nara to stay quiet and hide. She crawled behind some broken stones. Ethan hid his bag under some rubble and pretended to be searching for supplies. Soldiers entered the building. One of them was Greg, the tall man who watched Ethan in camp. Greg said, "What are you doing here, Ethan?" Ethan answered, "Looking for dry wood." Greg looked at him for a long time, but said nothing. The other soldiers walked around, checking every corner. Ethan's heart raced. He hoped they would not find Nara. After a while, the soldiers left. Ethan waited until they were gone, then called Nara out from her hiding place. She was scared, but safe. Ethan gave her a small toy he made from wire and buttons. Nara smiled, holding the toy close. It was the first gift she ever received from a human. The day grew hotter. Ethan made sure Nara had enough water. He talked to her about his home on Earth. He drew pictures in the dust-tall trees, blue lakes, small houses. Nara listened and tried to draw her home, too. She drew tall towers and glowing rivers. Ethan wished he could see her world one day. Later, Ethan heard more soldiers near the ruins. He knew they could not stay there much longer. He told Nara they had to move to a new hiding place. He helped her stand up, and together they walked slowly through the ruins, keeping low. Ethan found an old tunnel and led her inside. It was dark and cold, but it was safe for now. Nara was tired, but she followed Ethan without complaining. She trusted him completely. In the tunnel, Ethan wrapped her in the blanket and shared his food. They listened to the sounds above, hoping one would find them. That night, Ethan was very tired. He told Nara a simple story about a bird who found a new home. Nara listened closely. She closed her eyes and imagined a place where she could live without fear. Ethan promised her he would help her reach safety, no matter what dot in the morning. Ethan heard voices above the tunnel. Someone shouted his name. He knew it was the commander. Ethan told Nara to stay quiet. He climbed up and saw the commander with Greg. The commander asked, "Have you seen anything strange?" Ethan shook his head. Greg stared at Ethan, but did not say anything. The commander left, and Ethan hurried back down to Nara. He told her it was not safe to stay much longer. Nara looked scared but brave. She gave Ethan a tiny blue flower she found in the tunnel. She pressed it in his hand and smiled. Ethan put the flower in his pocket and promised to keep it forever. That night, Ethan lay awake, thinking about everything. He thought about the war, about Nara, and about what might happen if the soldiers found her. He decided he would do anything to protect her, even if it meant risking his own life. For now, he was just glad she was safe beside him, deep in the tunnel, far from the world above. Ethan did not sleep much that night. He listened to every sound above the tunnel. He worried about Nara and what would happen if someone found them. Nara slept close by, breathing quietly. In the darkness, Ethan promised himself again that he would do anything to keep her safe. The next morning, Ethan brought Nara a piece of bread and some dried fruit. She smiled and thanked him. She shared half of it with him, even though she was hungry. Ethan felt proud of her kindness. He knew she was strong and brave. Ethan decided it was time to find a safer place for Nara. He remembered hearing about a small group of peaceful aliens who lived far from the human camp. He thought maybe they could help her. Ethan told Nara, using words and pictures, that she needed to leave soon. Nara looked sad but understood. Ethan left Nara in the tunnel and went back to camp. He wanted to find out if the commander still planned to search the ruins. The camp was tense. The commander was angry that nothing had been found and ordered the soldiers to watch each other. Greg followed Ethan and asked, "Why do you spend so much time near the ruins?" Ethan answered, "I like the quiet." Greg did not look convinced. That afternoon, the commander called Ethan to his tent. "We need to search every part of the ruins again," he said. "If there is a Lero hiding, we must find it." Ethan felt fear. He had to warn Nara. He waited until dark and then slipped away. He found Nara and told her it was time to go. Ethan led Nara out of the tunnel. They moved quietly through the ruins, keeping to the shadows. Ethan checked for soldiers but saw none. He pointed the way to the edge of the war zone. There, he hoped Nara could find the peaceful aliens and be safe. They walked for a long time. Nara was tired, but she did not complain. Ethan helped her when she stumbled. Sometimes they stopped to rest. Nara gave Ethan her last piece of dry fruit, but he told her to eat it herself. She smiled and insisted he take half. When they reached the edge of the ruins, Ethan saw lights in the distance. He thought it was the camp of the peaceful aliens. He told Nara to wait while he checked. He crept close and saw a group of Lero, but they looked calm and friendly. They were cooking food and talking softly. Ethan went back to Nara and told her she could trust these people. Nara hugged Ethan and thanked him. She did not want to leave him, but she knew she had to. Ethan gave her the blue necklace she had, made for him. He put it around her neck and smiled. Nara walked toward the peaceful aliens. Ethan watched her go. She turned and waved. Ethan waved back, feeling sad but hopeful. He stayed hidden until he saw that the aliens had welcomed Nara. They gave her food and a blanket. Nara looked back at Ethan one last time, and he saw her smile. He knew she would be safe. Ethan returned to camp. Greg saw him and asked where he had been. Ethan said he was walking to clear his mind. Greg still looked suspicious, but he did not say more. That night, Ethan lay in his bunk. He missed Nara, but he was glad she was safe. He hoped the war would end soon, so children like Nara would not have to hide anymore. Ethan took the tiny blue flower from his pocket and looked at it. He promised himself he would never forget. As he closed his eyes, Ethan hoped for peace, not just for himself, but for Nara and her people. He knew he had done the right thing. He had saved a life, and maybe, in a small way, he had helped make the world a better place. The days passed slowly after Ethan helped Nara escape to safety. The camp felt empty to him. He still did his work, but he was quiet and did not talk much to the other soldiers. Greg sometimes watched him, but after a while, even Greg seemed to lose interest. Ethan spent his free time looking at the tiny blue flower Nara had given him. He kept it safe in a small tin. It was his way to remember her and their time together in the ruins. News came to the camp that the fighting on the planet was ending. A message said there would be a ceasefire soon. Soldiers began to pack their things. Some were happy to go home, while others were tired and sad. Ethan felt both things at the same time. He was glad the war would stop, but he wondered what would happen to Nara and the peaceful aliens she lived with now. One morning, the commander called the soldiers together. He said a group of neutral aliens was coming to the camp to talk about peace. Ethan's heart beat faster. He hoped Nara might be with them, but he did not say anything. When the day came, Ethan stood in the back while the commander met with the aliens. There were Lero among them, tall and proud, but with gentle eyes. Then Ethan saw her. Nara stood near the group, looking small but strong. She wore a clean dress and had the blue necklace he had given her around her neck. Her face was brighter, and she looked much healthier than before. Nara saw Ethan, and her eyes filled with joy. She ran across the field and hugged him tightly. Ethan knelt down so they were face to face. He smiled and showed her the blue flower he still kept in his pocket. Nara laughed and took his hand. She said, "Thank you, Ethan. You are my friend." Some of the soldiers stared, surprised to see Ethan with the alien girl. The commander walked over and asked what was happening. Nara spoke in simple English. Ethan saved me. He is good. The commander listened and looked at Ethan for a long time. Finally, he nodded and said, "You did a brave thing." The peace talks began. Ethan stayed close to Nara and the other aliens. He tried to help with words when the two sides did not understand each other. Nara did the same, using her drawings and simple words to explain her people's wishes. The soldiers and the Lyra watched them, and some even smiled. They saw how Ethan and Nara trusted each other, and it made them feel hope for peace. Night, there was a big meal at the camp. Humans and aliens ate together for the first time. Ethan sat beside Nara. They shared food and stories. Nara showed everyone how to make a little bird from paper, and soon the children from both sides were folding paper birds and laughing. Ethan felt happy and proud. He saw that one act of kindness could change many lives. He saw how a simple promise to protect one child had helped bring peace between two worlds. He looked at Nara, who was laughing with the other children, and knew he had made the right choice. Before the humans left the planet, Nara came to say goodbye. She gave Ethan a small stone, smooth and blue like the necklace. She pressed it into his hand and said, "For you. So you remember me." Ethan hugged her and said, "I will never forget you." The humans packed their ships and left the planet. Ethan watched as the world grew small below him. He felt a little sad, but also full of hope. He knew that even in a big, cold universe, one person could make a difference. He believed that Nara would grow up strong and happy, and that the humans and Lyra could live in peace because of the friendship they shared. Ethan kept the blue flower and the stone with him always. Whenever he felt lonely or afraid, he remembered Nara's smile. He remembered that kindness could cross any distance. And that hope could start with something as simple as saving a child who needed help.